So this might have been my most anticipated episode of Isekai Quartet today, because I watched this episode pretty late in the day after I get home from work, and I have to say, I heard some pretty great things that apparently Shield Hero was going to be in this episode for more than just a small little cameo, and if you know me, I love me my Shield Hero and my Shield Bro, and this episode definitely delivered on that Shield Hero goodness, and kind of made up for the lack of Shield Hero and party that this season has been desperately craving and needing, and just, it was so great to see them. But the fact that we got a dodgeball game, but the fact that we got dodgeball isn't really the shocking aspect. I think we can all assume that eventually we would get an Isekai Quartet dodgeball game, and it would be pretty insane. But the fact that it all stemmed from what people put on their wings, if it's salt, if it's ketchup, or if it's mayo, and I'm just thinking to myself, why are you guys even dipping your wings in anything? They should be full of flavor to begin with based on the flavor of the wings that you're eating. But some of those options really just churned my stomach in such a direction. But the fact that we got such a hilarious episode because of these very bizarre choices for dipping sauces, I'm like, yep, give me Team Salt. Just let's see what's gonna happen. The jokes in this episode were fantastic. I mean, everyone assumes that we're gonna have a lot of references to any of the 5 series that this anime is kind of built off of, but the fact that we got a wrestling move that was applied to our characters, Walls of Jericho, and we just saw that in the middle of a dodgeball match. Not a wrestling match, a dodgeball match. That just made my day, I have to say. That shit just had me cracking up. I'm not even the biggest wrestling fan, but I have to say, that was a real delight to see in this episode. Absolutely fantastic, especially just with how they incorporate it with the characters and the situation at hand. But yeah, I mean, the Shield Hero stuff is absolutely my favorite part of this episode. Even though he wasn't the dominating force, the fact that he got dragged in and got placed in Team Salt, which is the most perfect team for Naofumi, is not even about what he cares for wings or what he dips wings or what he puts on wings. They put him with Team Salt. That is exactly where he needs to be, and the fact that he's not even mad at Raphtalia for being on Team Ketchup, and he's just like, oh, you look so precious, and just that back and forth was fantastic, because that's exactly how Shield Hero should be written in this sequence. He's surrounded by characters he has no love for, no knowledge about. He should be very hostile and very worried or just cautious about what they could do to him, but surrounded by the party that he's grown with, he's obviously going to be a lot more nice and charming. And that's actually a relieving feeling, because we really haven't had too much Shield Hero content. We've seen a couple of mechanics, a couple of the shields. Based on the dialogue that we've seen, it definitely felt like he was still being written the same way the other characters in the other series were, as if it was actually pulled from their original source materials. But the thing with it is the fact that it's been now 5 weeks before this episode, that without really having him be fully on screen, really taking the reins and controlling a sequence, it was a little concerning. Would they be able to write Shield Hero the same way they would with these other characters? Because in comparison to the others, Shield Hero would be the most bland in terms of a basic personality, someone who's very hostile, very distant. Could they really translate his persona into a funny situation? And clearly they absolutely can, because watching him use Rage Shield and just the little dialogue from Raphtalia being like, why would you be so reckless and use such a dangerous ability? That stuff pulled straight from the anime, and just, that's fantastic. I'm really happy to see that even with as many characters and series in question that we do have, they're still able to find such beautiful ways to incorporate them without obviously making them the dominating force, as they are just the outsiders, they are in a separate class, they are just the bystanders, the side guests of this show. But the fact that they did have a really relevant role in this episode brought a damn grin to my face. It's about time, and I hope we get more episodes like this. I don't expect he's going to be dominating every episode or anything like that, but if we can get a couple more of these types of moments with Shield Hero, Shield Bro, Raphtalia, and all them, I'd be very, very happy, I have to say. And I definitely think there's going to be a lot of happy anime watchers after seeing some Shield Hero. It's not just me. There's a lot of people who are always like, I really want to see more Shield Hero, and we finally got it, which was a damn blessing, I have to say. But the fact that the thing that was actually going to wedge Tanya as well as Ainz away was just this debate over food, I was thinking that it was going to be something relating to Being X, something about okay, Ainz was using time-stopping magic, that's something that Being X would do. I thought that would be the wedge or something, and the fact that they were just arguing over food was so fantastic, because it's something that it definitely gives you the creative freedom that you can see. You definitely wouldn't think, okay, Overlord, Saga of Tiny the Evil, these are two sets of characters that are just going to argue over food, because generally there's a lot more plot-centric things going on. That's what they would interact with. But this episode really did flex that not only can you take things that, yeah, probably won't ever happen in their original series, even just removing the other, just, having the characters in just Saga of Time of the Evil just, bicker and debate about what's the best chicken wing flavor or things like that, or dipping sauce. No, because they're in the middle of a war, you might get a couple of slice of life moments, but it's a pretty hefty and hectic series. But the fact that you can take these characters, understand them on a deep enough level that you can write a situation that is so out there that had Isekai Quartet not been invented as of right now, and you told an Overlord fan, a Saga of Time of the Evil fan, that you would have this character mixed with this other character, and they would argue, get into a fight, then have a dodgeball match, and they would just watch chaos unfold, everyone would look at you like you're drunk. Like, that's honestly how any fan would react, because that shouldn't work in theory. And even after seeing Isekai Quartet, there's certain things that even then you think maybe there is a limit. Maybe there's so far that if you cross a certain line or threshold, it's not going to work and it's going to feel like disrespect to the series in question, but they just never find that line. They just keep it hilarious every single week, and that's amazing. This episode was an absolute blast. I mean, just watching all of the combination of abilities, personalities, and the fact that we had the most visually pleasing episode of the anime to date. I mean, you can look back at, there's definitely some highlights for sure, and even like the end of the first season, there was definitely a lot of flash or anytime Ainz used his ability, but that's usually like a 30-second thing at best. Half of the episode was them just combining magic and destruction to basically dodge a dodgeball, rather than them just throwing a ball back and forth like it generally is and getting hit in the face, and then, the gym teacher would be like, oh, that's just the name of the sport, there's no issue with that. What you actually got was like that, but then amplified by being like, yeah, use your powers, but maybe don't use your feet to propel yourself, because that's going too far. But if you want a flaming ball of death, absolutely go ahead. Like, the fact that they took such a fun game, but a kind of a brutal game, depending on who the teacher or the coach or whoever is helming the game is, it can be a pretty brutal sport if they get their kicks, basically watching kids get their face pummeled in by a softball, which unfortunately is a more common thing than you would expect. It is nice to see that they were able to apply such anime design sequences and let these characters truly flex how powerful they are, because generally when we look at these characters, even though we know them on a deep level from their original series, and we know that their abilities transferred with them. So to have an episode that let not like a single character look powerful, but pretty much every character in general, even the new transfer students, right? The fact that they had this just playground to be as brutal as they want, and the only reason we didn't see more brutality wasn't because someone got hurt, but the ball just popped. Like, that's kind of amazing. And the fact that, like, it just kind of seems like that's going to be their relationship. They're going to have pointless arguments. And whether we get more very soon or in a third season, after seeing this episode, it kind of breaks the expectations that I personally come to expect with this anime. I can think of plenty of school activities and school just settings and what they can do for Isekai Quartet, but there is some just unfamiliarity about this episode where it's just like, okay, dodgeball makes sense, but the fact that it started over arguments over chicken wings, that's something that I couldn't predict. I thought it would just be a dodgeball match, arguments about their original series, about who they hate, who they like, things like that, something like I would expect from the first season, like when Tanya was first very hostile towards Ainz. Like, that's the type of stuff you expect, but after episode 6 of season 2, we're like, okay, anything's possible. They could have an argument that relates to a magical battle of death that gets them attention because someone spilled their chocolate milk. Like, at this point, that's something that could naturally happen in this show, and that's really fantastic. I mean, there definitely is a lot of possibilities, and I think an episode like this, it definitely flexes the bigger the group activity, the more room there is to incorporate all the series in question. As we had everyone a part of this dodgeball game, and it didn't feel like it was a cluttered mess. It felt like everyone had, a moment to shine. Obviously, certain characters had more time than others, but I mean, characters who may have got swept a little more under the rug, such as the ReZero cast, I mean, they've had a lot of time in previous episodes to really flex it, so it was nice that they gave it to Shield Hero, rather than just giving him like one line and then sweeping him under the rug, which they've been doing pretty much all this season. So I'm really hoping that we'll get more episodes like this, group activities, group detentions, group therapy, whatever the hell that these characters are going to have to experience, whether willingly or unwillingly. I really hope we get to see more of this, because the larger the setting, the larger the event, I definitely think the more possibilities and humor that they can definitely write in. And I can safely say after this episode, I hope they actually continue to break past what we expect with these characters and let them be a little more original in this setting, because as great as it is and as funny as it is and how many possibilities there is to write it around how they would act in their own series but applied to obviously another series, I hope they get more original moments such as arguments over food and beverages, things like that. Just something that necessarily wouldn't think about from their original series, but it just makes so much sense in such a weird and warped way that it becomes one of the most beautiful and hilarious moments that you're probably going to watch in the current anime week, and that's pretty fantastic. I mean, this show, it just brings a grin to my face. I mean, as a little context here, I slept 2.5 hours last night, went to work, did my thing, got home, immediately started watching this. I was like, oh man, I'm really tired, but you know, it's Isekai Quartet, I'm not going to skip out on Isekai Quartet. Within minutes, I'm perked right up feeling like I had a good night's sleep. This show is therapy, it's hilarious, it's something that you can easily watch a single episode on repeat probably 5-6 times and probably still laugh just as much and maybe sometimes a little bit more, even if you're on your 3rd or 4th rewatch. I mean, the show is really, really good. It's that Konosuba level comedy where if you need a pick-me-up, if you need something to just really relax or have a good laugh, you don't even have to watch the entire thing. Pick a few episodes and you're going to have a great time, and that's exactly what I have every week with this amazing series. Great references, more Shield Hero content. What else could you really ask for? This was a very pleasing episode, I have to say, one of the best this season. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What was your favorite moment, favorite reference, whatever you're feeling, do let me know. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.